Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Good evening, Bart.
Hello, good evening, Brother Shankara. How are you?
Well,
Haima.
So we are studying the life of Holy Mother in Sri Sarada Devi, her divine play. We're in the chapter on Mother as Guru. And we've been hearing about instructions that she gives to various disciples and so on. And sometimes it seems that she's very easy on them. So Swami Chaitanananda, the writer of this book, says one should not conclude that the mother did not encourage her disciples to practice japa and meditation. When her disciples visited her, she poured her love and affection upon them, served them food, and made sure they were comfortable. Association with the Guru is extremely precious in spiritual life because those sweet memories become stronger after the Guru passes away. And I can certainly attest to that. For that reason, Holy Mother told Mahendra and Girija not to spend too much time practicing japa while they were with her. Because they were with her. They were with the Mother of the universe. Nothing to prove to her. So Mother told Mahendra and Girija not to spend too much time practicing japa while they were with her. She herself practiced japa long hours for her disciples' benefit. And I think you may recall that I told you that Swami Swahananda, I know for a fact that Swami Swahananda also did that. After his initiation, Naresh Chakrabarti asked, "Mother, will you command that I eat vegetarian food?" Holy Mother replied, now this is, again, let's listen up. You know, this is the Mother of the universe speaking to us about what's required of us. Will you command that I eat vegetarian food? Obviously, he had not been a vegetarian. Holy Mother replied, what do you mean? Why should you become a vegetarian? My children are free to eat non-vegetarian food. Enjoy a variety of food and live happily. I shall take care of you. Enjoy a variety of food and live happily. I shall take care of you. Now, I know it doesn't come easy to us. We have to practice this idea. But if we can imagine ourselves as a child in the mother's arms, in her lap, through with the toys of the world, through with this striving for what just escapes and escapes our grasp. If we can think, well, now, I've turned to the mother, she has taken me on her lap, she's cleaning me up, and she says, I shall take care of you. Well, if we can hold that thought and let that rest in our hearts, such a comfort. Such a comfort. What if I cannot repeat my mantra? Naresh asked. Holy Mother replied heatedly, what do you mean? You don't want to repeat your Ishta mantra? Then why did I give you initiation? Why did you take initiation? If you don't repeat your Ishta mantra, you will lose your spiritual life. I will not be the loser. So she said, do it. But she also says, I will take care of you. At Jairambati in 1907, Brahmachari Rush Bahari asked, Mother, why is it necessary to receive a mantra from a guru? Holy Mother replied. Now, once again, let's listen up. Why is it necessary to receive a mantra from a guru? Holy Mother replied, the mantra purifies the body. Human beings become pure by repeating God's name. I'm going to repeat that. The mantra purifies the body. Human beings become pure by repeating God's name. Now, I'm going to say something about why that's so. This isn't something I've been told by any teacher, but it's absolutely perfectly clear from here. This is more than opinion. That since everything that is vibration and vibration alone, including this action and experience suit. It may not seem so to us because we're not meant to see it that way. But physicists, Vashishta, they'll tell you the same thing. This is vibration and vibration alone. So when you repeat the mantra, you are introducing that very holy, very pure, very powerful vibration, and it changes the very cells of your body. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, before we go on, are there any questions or comments about what's been said? Because that was a pretty powerful statement about what it is that Mother means.
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Aaron.
When you say it affects the cells, the mantra affects the cells in our body, do you mean like physically?
Yes, absolutely physically, dear. It actually changes the nature of the cells. Now, there is plenty of research to back this up. Vashishta says it to Rama. Adi Shankaracharya implies it in Bhajagovindam. But Don Lincoln, the head of Fermilab, and another name just went out of my mind. In any event, another, Pim van Lommel. Pim van Lommel did research starting with near-death experiences and then going on into consciousness, and came to the conclusion that these spiritual experiences and repeating the mantra is a spiritual experience. These spiritual experiences actually change the physical nature of our body and purify that etheric egg that surrounds us. Anything else from anyone? Any other questions or comments? Okay.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you for asking the question. Yes, it is a physical thing. It's a physical thing, a psychic thing. This is not split into pieces, this action and experience. When you do something that affects it at all, it affects it all. Anything else? Okay. Holy Mother says, listen to a story. One day Narada went to Vaikuntha, heaven, and had a long conversation with Vishnu. When Narada left, Vishnu asked Lakshmi to sprinkle a solution made from cow dung to sanctify the spot where Narada had sat. Lakshmi said, "Why, Lord? Narada is your great devotee. Why then do you say this?" Vishnu said, "Narada has not yet received initiation. One's body does not become pure without initiation." Why? What is the mantra? The mantra is the distilled spiritual treasure and power of the incarnations. When they say, holiness itself shall transform you, that is the holiness. So this is the Swami, Chetanananda, making a very strong point that those of us who are devotees should seek initiation. So now that anything to say from anyone? Anything to add or ask? Okay. After giving the mantra, the Vaishnava Guru says to his disciples, now what is that word?
It is man-ter. They separated, Brother Shankara. Mantra.
Oh, man is mine.
Man, yes, ter.
Okay.
Man-ter.
Now the mantor, the mind is yours.
Yes.
The human guru imparts the mantra to the ear, but the divine guru transmits the mantra, transmits the mantra into the soul. Everything depends upon one's mind. Nothing can be achieved without purity of mind. It is said, one may have the grace of the Guru, of God, and of the Vaishnava, the devotees. But one comes to grief without the grace of one. That one is the mind. One needs the grace of one's own mind. So how to purify the mind? Through the mantra. One needs the grace of one's own mind. In spiritual life, these are the universal and eternal questions. How do I control the restless mind? How do I overcome lust and anger? How do I attain peace and joy? How do I practice spiritual disciplines? How can I see God? What will happen after death? Holy Mother answered all these questions. even though today we do not have the good fortune to have Holy Mother as our guru, we have inherited the spiritual instructions that she gave to her disciples. Her teachings solve our spiritual problems. This has been said many times from here. Because Mother left the body does not mean she has left us. She is available to us. So what does the Swami say? Her teachings solve our spiritual problems, remove our doubts, and create love and longing for God. Of course, some of Mother's teachings are universal, and some were given to specific individuals. It is extremely harmful if a person takes medicines indiscriminately without consulting a doctor. Similarly, it is dangerous to practice spiritual disciplines without the advice of a guru. Holy Mother taught monks as well as householders according to their tendencies. So one should follow only those teachings that are suitable for one's circumstances and temperament. Now that's bound to lead to some questions or thoughts from you who've joined us. Anything at all from anyone? Okay.
Sorry, Brother Shankara.
Yes,
I,
Swam.
yeah, I was having a little trouble with the mouse to turn off the mute. Can you repeat the last couple of lines about um, doing only those practices, something to do with the temperament?
Yes. I'll go back. Of course, some of the Mother's teachings are universal and some were given to specific individuals. It is extremely harmful if a person takes medicines indiscriminately without consulting a doctor. Similarly, it is dangerous to practice spiritual disciplines without the advice of a guru. Holy Mother taught monks as well as householders according to their tendencies. So one should follow only those teachings that are suitable for one's circumstances and temperament.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, and this is known, this is not speculation or hearsay, this is known. Your guru does not have to be embodied. They do not have to currently be embodied to reach out to you, to instruct you. One of the most powerful swamis of the 1940s, 50s, 60s was Swami Ashokananda. Swami Ashokananda was a wild and restless young man. And he was very spiritually inclined, but he was a turbulent person. Swami Vivekananda came to him and gave him instruction, though Vivekananda had been out of the body for many years. Swami Ashokananda was accepted by the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna as a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Prabhavananda has given instruction to people, including mantras, to people after he left the body. He left the body in 1976. Now, of course, right now, we do have Swami Sarvadevananda. Swami Sarvadevananda is available to us, to you, and if you ask my advice, I would say go to him. Because if you ask him, he will say he is nothing other than a face for Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. And he will give you that spiritual treasure in a mantra and in instructions in how to proceed. I mean, this is what we should ask the Guru. What is the way? Any other comments or questions from anyone?
So could we say that Ramakrishna is our guru? Could we have that?
Ramakrishna is the Guru. Ramakrishna is when we say Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, we mean Sri Ramakrishna, not the limited embodied Ramakrishna, although we have that picture to gaze on, and his presence is there. But he is of the form of all gods and goddesses and all forms of the divine. This is the understanding. So is Jesus. I mean, this is not limited to Sri Ramakrishna. I mean, when Jesus said, I and my Father are one, how many fathers are there? How many limitless, infinite, divine presences are there? So if we are drawn to Sri Ramakrishna or any other form of the divine, we can receive instruction. Thanks for asking, Aaron. Anyone else? Okay. In March 1904, Swami Virajananda went to visit the mother at Jairambati. He had not seen her for a couple of years, and his health had broken down from practicing too much austerity. When Holy Mother saw his sickly body, she shuddered, realizing that it was not a physical illness. She asked, "Where do you practice? In the heart or the Sahasrara, the top of the head?" Virajananda responded, "In the Sahasrara, because I love to meditate on that chakra and I get immense joy." "My son, what have you done?" exclaimed Holy Mother. "One meditates on that spot in the final stage. Only the mind of a Paramahamsa dwells there. It is not possible to keep the mind in such a high realm in the initial stages. Is it possible? Is it possible to keep the mind in such a high realm in the initial stages? One should begin by concentrating the mind on the crown chakra, but then bring it down to the heart chakra and meditate there on the Ishta." Any comments or questions about that? We should not, according to the Ramakrishna tradition, meditate here or at the third eye. We may start there if we wish. We may pull our attention there if we wish, but then bring that energy down to the heart until the heart center is fully open, which means great purification. The mirror of the heart is wiped clean. Then we can move upward. But first we must purify the heart, and purifying the heart purifies the entire body. So I'll repeat what Mother said. My son, what have you done? Exclaimed Holy Mother. One meditates on that spot in the final stage. Only the mind of a Paramahamsa dwells there. Is it possible to keep the mind in such a high realm in the initial stages? One should begin by concentrating the mind on the crown chakra, the Sahasrara. One should begin by concentrating the mind on the crown chakra, but then bring it down to the heart chakra and meditate there on the Ishta. Virajananda had previously gone through various kinds of treatment and received a special diet. He had followed disciplines meant to relieve his mental fatigue and illness. Nothing had worked. Now he began to follow Holy Mother's simple instructions, and slowly he got well. As a matter of fact, he ended up as president of the Ramakrishna Order. Toward the end of his life, referring to this event, he said, "For this reason, one needs a Siddha Guru, an illumined teacher. If I had not received that advice from the Mother, perhaps my life would have been destroyed." And when someone like Virajananda says this, let's listen up. For this reason, one needs a Siddha Guru, an illumined teacher. If I had not received that advice from the Mother, perhaps my life would have been destroyed. The enthusiasm of the young can sometimes be misdirected. This is why it's so important to get the instructions of someone really qualified to give you those instructions. And Rajananda ended that statement by saying, probably I would have been a permanent invalid or ended up insane. And people do. All gurus, without exception, have to listen to their disciples' complaints. Once a devotee came to Swami Virajananda, a disciple of Ramakrishna, for initiation. So this was after Swami Virajananda had become either a vice president or president of the order, because those are the only people in India who give Ramakrishna order initiation. Here the heads of centers give. Once a devotee came to Swami Virajananda, a disciple of Ramakrishna, for initiation. The Swami told him he would initiate him on one condition, that the devotee would not write any letter of complaint to him. Me. A monk came to the Mother and complained, "Mother, why does my mind become restless every now and then? Why can't I constantly meditate on you? Many worthless thoughts disturb my mind. Tell me how I can get peace. Shall I never receive your grace? Nowadays I seldom have visions. It is better to die than lead such a worthless life. See what I mean about the enthusiasm of the young can be misdirected. Listen to Mother's reply. What are you talking about, my son? Holy Mother responded. Do you think such horrible things? Can one have a vision every day? The master used to say, does an angler catch a big carp every day the moment he sits with a rod? He throws the line with spiced bait and then waits with deep concentration. Some days a carp might swallow the hook, and other days it might not. So never give up your habit of spiritual practices. Increase your japa. The monk said, please tell me how many times I should repeat the mantra so that I may have good concentration. Holy Mother replied, well, you may repeat it 10,000 or even 20,000 times, or as many times as you can. Now, let us be mindful of what the Swami Chaitananda said earlier. This is instructions to a young monk. And so the mother said, you can repeat it 10,000 or 20,000 times. That is not instruction for us. That is not instruction for us. Surely, if it's possible for you to do that without harming yourself, but you must be very, very careful and thoughtful. Any question at all about what's been said? Okay. On another occasion, Holy Mother said to Swami Dhirananda, the mind will be steadied if you repeat the name of God 15,000 or 20,000 times a day. It is truly so. O Krishna Lal, she always spoke to these fellows by their pre-monastic names. O Krishna Lal, I myself have experienced it. Let them practice it first. If they fail, let them complain. One should practice japa with some devotion, but this is not done. They will not do anything. They only complain, saying, why do I not succeed? A true guru, like parents, carries the responsibility of his or her disciples. Sometimes Holy Mother had to face problems, but she had much regard for Yoganma's judgment and consulted her not only about domestic matters, but also about spiritual affairs and even mantras. Once an elderly gentleman asked the Holy Mother to bless him with initiation. She agreed out of compassion, but when he came for the ceremony, she asked him a few questions and learned that he was skeptical about Ramakrishna's divinity. Holy Mother was disturbed. She anxiously called Yoganma, who hurried to the shrine. Yogan, what should I do? Asked the mother. This person does not accept the master. Yoganma immediately replied, well, mother, it does not matter. The mantra will give him. The mantra you will give him has the power and will change him in time. Don't worry, initiate him. The mantra you give him has the power and will change him in time. Once a guru was standing face to face. There's a film of this. Standing face to face with this man. And the man says, well, you should know I smoke. And the guru says, very well. Well, you should know that I overeat. Very well. You should know that I enjoy sex. Very well. Well, what then? The man said. And the guru said, just repeat the mantra I have given you, and all that will dissolve away. So the mantra you will give him has the power and will change him in time. Don't worry, initiate him. Holy Mother followed Yogin Ma's advice, and Yogin Ma's prediction came true. After a short time, the man became devoted to Ramakrishna. Swami Tanmayananda once said to Holy Mother, Mother, so many bad thoughts come when I sit for meditation. Holy Mother replied, it is natural. Does anyone want to leave one's place easily? In other words, we're in the habit of thinking these thoughts. Holy Mother replied, it is natural. Does anyone want to leave one's place easily? These thoughts try to drag the mind down. Mother, please do something so that I may forget those things, Tanmayananda implored. Touching his head, the mother said, from now on, all those thoughts will not come to your mind. Swami Tanmayananda, Mother, I can't meditate on a form. It does not matter, said Holy Mother. She pointed to the Master's picture and said, think of him and repeat your mantra. Read one chapter of the Gita every day. The day you don't have much time, read at least a few verses of the Gita. Make your asana comfortable so that you can sit a couple of hours at a stretch. Then you will be able to sit for a long time. If your leg goes to sleep or gives you pain, move your leg. Later, you will not find any difficulty. You can practice japa and meditation simultaneously or alternately. Any comments or questions before there's a new subhead, the efficacy of japa and meditation. So perhaps some of your questions would be answered there, but if you have anything to ask or comment, share from your own experience, please do.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
So if one remembers the specifics of the mantra, like the bija and the ishta, and the basic instructions, but if we have inadvertently forgotten all the details of the initiation, process, and make some unknown mistakes, is that so anything to get concerned about?
Well, don't you have a written version of? Weren't there some pages given to you at initiation?
Yes, a few like bullet points.
Yeah. Well, just review the bullet points. And of course, you're not going to remember everything that was told you at initiation. Just keep on doing what you were told to do as you recall it. Review those bullet points and practice to the best of your ability. As it was said earlier, in time, your mind itself becomes your guide. You are unique. Each of us is utterly unique. If you just think about it a few minutes, you'll see how true that is. Each of us is utterly unique. We share some things, most things we do not. If we could really compare notes about the universe we live in, we would see that each of us lives in a very different universe. It's because it's the universe of our projection. But the power of spiritual practice, it doesn't make one universe for each of us. It makes each of our universes more perfect, more satisfying, because we're no longer looking to that external time, space, and causation aspect of universe for our happiness and our satisfaction. We're looking to a deeper aspect, the aspect of the universe that exists within us, which is far more vast and far more powerful than the universe outside, as powerful and as vast as that is. So, as Sri Ramakrishna says, dive deep. There you will find the gems of love. And that's the key word. When we discover, when we begin to touch that divine presence, which is love itself, Satchidananda, it is existence itself, knowledge itself, but for us, in terms of our experience of daily life, it is love and bliss itself. And so, if we make the effort, we will discover that love. And if you want to know the effects of that, get yourself a copy of Love Poems from God, the book Love Poems from God, and read the testimony of those 12 saints about the transforming power of discovering the love of the divine presence.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Thank you for asking that question, Swaya.
In my experience with meditation, I've found that I have a lot of difficulty with flexibility. So I often just find a posture that is comfortable for me where I keep my back straight. And that helps me a lot.
That's all that's necessary. Just an asana that is comfortable, a seat, a posture that keeps your back, neck, and head straight and erect. That's all that's necessary. You don't have to sit cross-legged. You don't have to, do those yogi postures. Those have benefits, but they're benefits that you discover well down the road of practicing the 6 limbs of yoga that are part of self-effort. So any posture that's comfortable works. Thanks, Aaron. As long as your back, neck, and head are erect. And you're comfortable, not in pain.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
This chapter gave, this past couple of pages gave all the tools that we've been discussing. You have been telling us and advising us all these couple of last several years, I think.
Well,
Most of these we've been discussing.
yes.
Right. And it gave all, it kind of re-emphasized all the tools that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Once more.
And now we're going to hear what Swami
Efficacy.
Chaitananda says about what happens when you use the tool.
Yes. Thank you.
The subhead is Efficacy of Japa and Meditation. Some people think it is a waste of time to sit in the shrine and practice japa and meditation. One could use that time and energy to make money or do something substantial. They believe that one can achieve peace and joy from money, friends, family, and worldly possessions. This is the materialistic attitude. All great teachers say that abiding peace and bliss come only through spiritual practices and God's grace. And the desire to do spiritual practices is itself God's grace. On different occasions, the mother described the efficacy of japa and spiritual practices. Do you know the significance of japa and other spiritual practices? These disciplines cut asunder the bonds of past karma and subdue the outgoing tendencies of the sense organs. I'm going to repeat that. Spiritual disciplines cut asunder the bonds of past karma and subdue the outgoing tendencies of the sense organs. This is exactly what Chaitanya points to in the opening lines of his prayer. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly. That means every day. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. Wiping the heart clean cuts asunder the bonds of past karma. Why? Because reflected in that clean mirror of your heart is the divine being that simply does not see, as Krishna says, does not see those past mistakes. I see no sinner, Krishna says. Holiness itself shall transform you. And, you know, the word quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. This is what the Swami is pointing to when he says, subdue the outgoing tendencies of the sense organs. But one cannot realize God without ecstatic love. Now, does that mean you have to have ecstatic love before you begin spiritual practices? No, no, no. Just the opposite. Ecstatic love comes as a result of cutting asunder that past karma and subduing the tendencies of the outgoing tendencies of the sense organs. Then you discover within you that ecstatic love. You would discover that living presence, as Swami Prabhupada put it. One should practice japa and meditation at regular times, giving up idleness. I mentioned Swami Ashokananda to you. He headed the Vedanta Society of Northern California. In the early 1950s, television became very popular, from about 1948 on into the 50s. One morning, the Swami, who'd been hearing many stories from his disciples, he pounded on the rostrum, pounded on the podium, and said, or shouted actually, "Don't tell me you don't have time to practice meditation. You watch television." And does that mean you shouldn't watch television? No, that's not what that means. It means if you're going to watch television, put that in second place. Do your spiritual practices at regular times. And then, if you're so inclined, go ahead and watch your television. While living at Dakshineshwar, this is Mother speaking. When living at Dakshineshwar, I used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to practice japa and meditation. One day I felt a little indisposed and left my bed rather late. The next day I again woke up late through laziness. Gradually I found that I did not feel inclined to get up early at all. Then I said to myself, at last I have fallen a victim to laziness. Thereupon I began to force myself to get up early. Gradually I got back to my former habit. In such matters, one should keep up the practice with unyielding resolution. Now, Swami Swahananda used to say this about laziness. He didn't like the word laziness. He saw it more in a motherly way. He would say, someone who appears to be lazy simply doesn't have the motivation, doesn't have the zeal. So, once again, be your own best friend about these things. If you find yourself being somewhat lax, don't beat yourself up. Mother didn't beat herself up. She just said, I've given way to laziness, which is probably a very good translation of the Bengali. But she knew what the results would be if she went back to her former practice. And so that was the motivation, the zeal. Gradually, I got back my former habit. In such matters, one should keep up the practice with unyielding resolution. Any questions from your own or comments from your own experience? Routine is very important in spiritual life. Meditation becomes very effective if it is practiced at a fixed time on a regular basis. Patanjali, the great teacher of yoga, of concentration and meditation, Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutra And then it quotes the verse, by samyama on the indivisible moments and their succession, one obtains discriminative knowledge. Samyama means concentration and meditation on a particular thing. By samyama on the indivisible moments and their succession, one obtains discriminative knowledge. This is a great mystery. It begins when we begin to think. Time is the continuous and homogeneous ocean of pure existence, which passes through moments and successions, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and years, all as well as past, present, and future, are practical divisions of the mental processes. In essence, there is no division in time. The whole division is a mental concept without which the operation of the psychic mechanism seems to be impossible. Any comment or question about that thought? It is a great discipline for the mind to sit for meditation every day at the same time. For example, we have our breakfast, lunch, and dinner at set times, and our stomach feels hungry at those times. Similarly, if we set aside time for meditation in the morning and evening, our minds will seek spiritual food at those fixed times. And please believe me, this is a reality. This is not some notion. The parallel is exact. Holy Mother told Nalin Bihari Sarkar, one should maintain a regular time for the practice of japa and meditation. No one knows when the auspicious moment will come. It comes suddenly without any advance warning. Therefore, one should be consistent in one's spiritual practices, no matter how busy one may be in worldly matters. Now, what does she mean by the auspicious moment? Anyone got an idea what she means? What is she talking about?
I imagine it's a time where your mind is calm, whatever time of the day that is, for depending on, okay.
It's larger than that, Aaron. Yes, that's there, but it's larger than that. The auspicious moment is when the realization comes of your original, true spiritual nature. One practices and practices and practices. And when that moment comes, suddenly it's absolutely clear that you are the Atman. Yes, Haima, what?
That is the self-realization, Brother Shankara, I would think.
It is the
self-realization, right?
Yeah. But we're not talking about nirvikalpa samadhi. We're talking about savikalpa samadhi.
Okay.
We're talking about the realization that you are that.
God. Yes, you are God.
You are a part of that, inseparably, eternally. That is who you truly are.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
And that then will subside again. you'll return to your realm of ordinariness. But it will have been changed because you are fundamentally changed. You now know it isn't an idea, it isn't something you read in a book, it isn't something you heard even from your guru. It is knowledge. I am that. That is who I truly am.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Anyone else? So I'm going to repeat that. No one knows when the auspicious moment will come. It comes suddenly without any advance warning. Therefore, one should be consistent in one's spiritual practices, no matter how busy one may be in worldly matters. As Swami Prabhavananda would say, those of you who come here and stick on are just, and he'd make this gesture, are just a hair's breadth away. How long it will take to traverse that hair's breadth? For each of us, it's completely imponderable. But we come and we stick on by God's grace, and that realization comes by God's grace. Anything else from anyone? Nalin said worldly duties and illness prevent me from being regular in my sadhana. Illness is not under mind's control, Holy Mother replied. And if you are really tied down with work, then simply remember God and make salutations to him. And Swami Prabhavananda said, well, even when you're ill, you can make japa. Even when you're ill, you can repeat the mantra. What is the best time for spiritual practice? Nalin asked. The junction of day and night and the junction of night and day are very auspicious for calling on God. The mind remains calm and pure at those times. The Native Americans call it the crack between the worlds. And in that time, calmness and purity of mind are much easier to access. Dawn and dusk. Oh my goodness, it's already after 9 o'clock. So we'll leave it at that. Any final thoughts from anyone?
Is like 15 minutes of meditation a day sufficient?
Anything is better than nothing, Aaron. But the short answer to that is no. Sri Ramakrishna gave us a gesture toward this. He said, I have done the full 16 annas. You need only do 1/16. Now, if you take the day and divide it by 16, you get 1.5. That's 1/16 of a 24-hour day. Sri Ramakrishna was gesturing toward that as the amount of time that you spend in spiritual practice. Now, spiritual practice is not just repeating the mantra, not just japam and meditation. It's as you'll notice, the mother suggested earlier, read some of the Gita. Well, we can say read some of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, or read the Gita. Read anything that lifts the mind out of its ordinary frame of reference, its normal everyday concerns. And then spend some time thinking about what you've read. That's contemplation. What is it that I am doing? Actually, what is it I'm thinking and saying and doing? And how does that compare with the truths that I've been reading in whatever it is that is from this higher frame of reference? You contemplate that so that you become very aware of the truth as it is being presented to you. So there's in Sanskrit the words are shravana. You may, rather than read, listen to one of Swami Sarvapriyananda's or Swami Sarvadevananda's talks. Something that takes you out of the ordinary frame of reference. Then contemplate that. That's manana. And then practice your japa and your concentration and meditation. If you can manage to do that, the combination of those three things for 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes in the evening, you'll find a truly remarkable change will take place in you over a period of 2 or 3 years. Now, if you can't manage it in the evening, see if you can't manage 45 minutes at least in the morning. And then what'll happen is a thirst will awaken in you that will make you want to do it again as the day goes by. You can do it 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at noon, 30 minutes in the evening also. And if you do it at noon, if you practice at noon, offer something to the Lord. You know, you're going to fix something for yourself to eat. Whatever you prepare, offer that to the Lord. So no, Aaron, 15 minutes is better than nothing. But if you're making this a priority, then more time can be found than that.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Sorry, I think I might have distracted myself. Did you say the 45 minutes includes the japa as well as reading and
Yes. That's the short answer. So the Shravana, the Manana, and the Nididhyasana, the practice of concentration and meditation, 45 minutes. And the thing that is so important is to do it regularly, day in, day out. And if you do, it doesn't take long. Now I'm talking 2 or 3 years. So that may seem like a long time, particularly to young people. It seems like a long time. But believe me, 2 or 3 years is not a long time.
What I try to do is focus, whatever, 30 minutes to an hour just for the mantra. And then when I do my routine, like cooking or walking, or even when I was doing my cardiac rehab, I would listen to the talks while doing activities.
Well, that's
And
all excellent, dear. That's all excellent. We're not limited to an hour and a half.
but my question is, um, I'll be, sailing along smoothly for several days, and then invariably some challenge comes and throws me off balance. And then, even then, I mean, I try. It's the starting, the engine. It stalls. But once I start, then I can keep going. Any suggestions on how to push through when these challenges come and just distract your mind?
We fall 1,000 times. We rise 1,001 times. It's inevitable, dear. This is not called Mahamaya for nothing. It is meant to be distracting. So we just say, what are my priorities? What deserves my attention? Must I be pulled away from my practice? And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes there is a demand on us, usually by someone close to us, that makes it just simply not possible for us to keep our regular schedule. It's just like the instructions you would give to a patient if you were a doctor. If you miss your dose of the medication, get back on the regular schedule of dosage as soon as you can. Isn't that what you would tell a patient?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the challenge now is Naveen's mom, who's 97, is fast deteriorating with her Alzheimer's. So it's been very challenging
Of course.
to take care. And yeah, so that's
Well,
that's
I'm
why I asked the
sure,
question.
I'm sure, Swayam, all of our hearts go out to you. And service to your elders, if we see it, and this is what we'll talk about this Sunday, Sri Ramakrishna's Karma Yoga, service to others as the divine presence is spiritual practice. Offering it to the divine presence. And dealing with old people who are difficult is one of the most challenging things. I mean, we've all witnessed it.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Rob.
I have a suggestion, something that works for me
Please.
about interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, most of the time the interruption, it comes from a person that's very close to you. And what I've found that works for me is you allow that person to interrupt you. What I do is I include that person in my spiritual process in the morning. And either that person will be drawn into it or they'll run away from it. Either way, you solve the interruption problem.
Right. Right.
And you can figure out a way, you have to figure out a way to include that person because you know that person and you know what draws that person in and you know what rejects that person. So there's no one thing I can say to
Of
you.
course not.
Yeah.
But thank you, Robert. That's That is very wise. And it sounds very like some of the things that Rumi says about, about how to meet the challenges of the day. Include the other. he says, if you keep it up, you'll start a cheese shop that'll be selling cheese, and everything will be wonderful. Ah, me. There is no simple way. There is no easy answer. As I said, it's not called Mahamaya for nothing. It's meant to keep us distracted. And the thing about the meaning to keep us distracted is we designed it that way. We, as the divine person, designed it that way so that we could play this game of manyness. And as Robert just pointed out, if you get wise, you get skillful about how to play the game of manyness and still do your spiritual practice. But it probably wouldn't work very well for Swayam and her 97-year-old mother-in-law, who is really struggling. I mean, she as a woman is suffering and struggling, and so the family is also. And as I said, Swayam, I'm sure I speak for all of us that our hearts go out to you and our prayers go out to you for this to ease itself and resolve itself.
Thank you so much, Brother Shankara, for the encouragement. Thank you.
Well, you're beloved, dear. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, I want to know what time is the class on Sunday?
11 Georgia time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's the title is Sri Ramakrishna's Karma Yoga.
Okay, all right.
All the Sunday talks are at 11 o'clock, and the Zoom link is on the website and in the newsletter,
All
and
right.
for that matter on Facebook.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Bart, do you have a few minutes for me to give you a call after we finish here?
I do, certainly.
Okay, very good.
Certainly. Thank you.
All right. So, Om Hari Om. Oma Satoma Satkamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. Oh, dearly beloved Lord, lead us from this place of endless change and distraction and relentless noise to thine abode of silence and peace. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. Please go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Until next time, the next time we can gather is tomorrow night for discussion of reading and discussion of Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga, Chapter 9. So until the next time.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
dear.
Namaste. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Good night, ladies. Good night, gentlemen.